Today in the northern suburbs of Minneapolis, Minnesota, voters cast their ballots in a special election to fill the seat held by former State House Speaker Melissa Hortman, the longtime Democratic state lawmaker who, along with her husband, was shot and killed at their home in June. And yet in Donald Trump's public remarks just hours after Charlie Kirk's assassination, in which he condemned a number of recent examples of political violence, he notably left out the killing of Melissa Hortman and several other attacks on Democratic figures. Well, Donald Trump was asked about Melissa Hortman in the Oval Office yesterday, and here's how that went.
In retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, right, do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to have staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar.
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me.
Joining me now is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, former Democratic vice presidential candidate. Today, he announced he's running for a third term as Minnesota's governor. He just can't get enough of the campaign trail. Governor, it's great to see you, and there's so much I want to ask you about. But I know Melissa Hortman was a close friend of yours. She's featured heavily in your announcement video. She's clearly been top of mind for you as you've rolled out your re-election campaign. And I just have to start by asking you what went through your head. What went through your mind when you heard those remarks from Donald Trump in the Oval Office yesterday?
Well, Jen, it's good to see you, and thank you for asking. It's been pretty traumatic in Minnesota, and I think Minnesotans, certainly every Minnesotan knows Melissa Hortman's name, and most decent people do. What goes through my mind is nothing surprises me. There's no compassion, there's no empathy in this man, and there's no sense of governing for the whole country. We had a horrific act of political violence and the loss of an exceptional human being, a mom. It's hard to explain to people, and it gets reduced to a footnote, this beautiful life, this big life. Melissa, Mark, Gilbert, Melissa, she fostered and helped train service dogs, and Gilbert failed, and she told me on a wink that she said, I want him to fail so he could stay with us. And it just a decent person, and probably one of the most skillful legislators I've ever worked with. Minnesota's a better state that got massive things done to improve people's lives, and you just see, you know, the disrespect and how easy that rolled off his tongue, yet we're supposed to believe that they're definitely concerned about political violence. And you see the vice president, you know, go on a podcast, it's government by podcast, to just lie and to bring hate. And they're not interested in solving this. We in Minnesota are. And I said today, announcing that I was going to run again, look, I don't think I have any, you know, you don't have a right to stay in these jobs, but I'm proud of the work we did together. I'm proud of Melissa's legacy. And I think right now, as you said, folks are standing up, and brave folks, teachers standing up for their students who bring their full selves to their classrooms. We had doctors here who patched up little bodies after they were shot with assault rifles and stood up and said, damn it, do something about this. We're tired of patching them up. Get rid of these things. And all across this country, you got people pushing back, and you've got a president that sees the presidency as his personal kingdom and a revenge tour. He's doing nothing to improve people's lives. Insurance costs are at a 15-year high. We see electricity costs going up. He's not fixing anything for anyone, and it's all smoke and mirrors. So I think when people see this, and I appreciate you asking about Melissa, I think there's a steeled resolve in Minnesota that we're done with this. 2 weekends in a row, we've gone to memorial services for an 8- and 10-year-old to hear about these beautiful lives. And I guarantee you Donald Trump doesn't know their names. And he's out there doing this. He doesn't care. I actually believe, Jen, if there had been students shot at that event, I don't know what he would have done, because apparently this is, as the vice president said, a fact of life. Well, we're done with it in Minnesota. We're going to do something about it. We're going to continue to try and improve lives. And I don't expect any help. And in fact, I just expect the president continue to interfere, because this isn't about improving lives. This isn't about uniting the country. This is about his warped view of where things are at. And I can tell you it's not the majority opinion.
There's so much that's happening in Minnesota, and I want to get there because I think you're taking on one of the hardest issues that's so important to parents out there and families out there. But first, I just want to ask you, I mean, you've decided to run for a third term. We're in a politically fraught environment, a dangerous environment, one where you are, as I mentioned, I think likely top of the enemy's list. Why did you decide to run for a third term, and what in terms of how you're going to approach pushing back if you win a third term, what does that look like? Because we've seen that works.
Yeah, I think most people are seeing this. It's servant leadership. This is a moment. The people who walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with John Lewis, the folks who you don't know their names, but they were there resisting some of the things we've seen in the past. And I think right now I've got the experience. We've been able to do things together in Minnesota that have improved lives. And I think stepping off the field right now, it's just not the time. And like I said, again, I'm sure there's people that can do this job, but I'm positioned to do it. We've proven that we can do it. And look, we're going to need to do this. I've been telling people, I've been saying since January, it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it is going to come to an end. History is not going to be kind to these people. History is going to remember them for what they're trying to do. It's not what they're going to get done. So I'm not naive. This is tough. The federal government makes my job difficult every single day. We're seeing rural hospitals close. As I said, we're seeing insurance costs at a 15-year high. We can't sell soybeans at all, and we've got a farm crisis brewing. Thank God for Willie Nelson coming out here and doing farm aid, because Donald Trump's not going to do a damn thing about it. And all of this, as he fires people who try and tell him what the labor statistics show, trying to make it more difficult, get rid of the National Labor Relations Boards and try and bust unions. I got people who've spent their whole life at the VA hospital caring for our warriors, now out of work and lost their union protections. That's what it is. And I asked the folks who are listening at home, is your life better with Donald Trump? Are you sick and tired of this? He didn't do a damn thing for prices. He's not doing anything. Good luck with your coffee coming up here because of the tariffs. It's all these things. So I don't want to panic people. Democracy is certainly on the line, but there's a lot of basic things that we can do at the state level that can try and fend off some of this. So that's why I'm back in again. And again, the voters will decide, but I do not believe that this lack of compassion and lack of empathy and lack of decency and lack of fact, and my God, I'm home to the Mayo Clinic. I had to issue an executive order that if you want to get a vaccine, you can. I mean, we have gone back 50 years with these people, and Minnesota's not going back. We refuse. It stops at our border. The nonsense stops at our border. You live your life. I've said it again. We will protect you for who you love. We're going to protect families, and I think that's just our calling. And the good thing is I know I'm not in it alone. I'm so proud of folks all across Minnesota, all across this country. Every time I see J.B. Pritzker stand up there, I swell with pride because I know he's fighting the good fight, too.
You and Kamala Harris were out there on the campaign trail, basically warning about Trump's authoritarian tendencies. I mean, you said that over and over again, among other things. I want to play just a clip of something that was said and talk about on the other end. Let's just play that real quick.
He is going to send the military against the enemy from within. Now, I want you to think about it. In other words, Americans who don't support him. As someone who now is the commander-in-chief of the Minnesota National Guard, the idea of sending U.S. military personnel against American citizens makes me sick to my stomach.
I know you're not going to say I told you so, but by all means, you can say I told you so. Say whatever you want. I'm most interested, how you feel now. You essentially warned that Trump was going to normalize the presence of National Guard and active duty military, a group of people whose service you are quite familiar with from your own experience. How does it feel watching back that clip and know that didn't hit with the public as the way it should have?
It didn't. And look, I know that was my responsibility, trying to do the best I could. I think about this as a teacher. Were there different ways I could have delivered this? Did it seem so extreme that people thought this could never happen? And that foundational separation with the military and the federal forces not being used against this, he's waging war against our cities. He even talks and uses the language of war. And look, our cities know that we want to make sure that crime is down. It is, but we can always do better. They should be partners with us. Just this week, they cut our counterterrorism funding. Money that we could use to protect schools. We could use it to help fund our police, making sure we could hire more. But I'll tell you what doesn't make people feel safe: a tank next to Chipotle. It's stupid, and it's for the cameras, and you can get into the legal aspect of posse comitatus, but it's foundational. So I keep saying, Jen, where are the don't tread on me people? We were told for years that we needed to be prepared about an overbearing federal government that would step in over local control and actually put troops on the streets. Where are those people? And I would just ask them to rise up. And this isn't the way things should be done. And again, he doesn't really have any interest in stopping the crime. If he did, he would go with the professionals. He would listen to local law enforcement. He would coordinate with us. I will tell you, we do have a great example, and this is why some of our institutions are still holding. We got a U.S. attorney out here who's a great partner, doing good work for us on many fronts, and that's because he coordinates with state agencies, coordinates with local officials. That's what we should be doing. This for the camera, I'm a big, tough guy. I also said, Jen, on that, and I'm still going to hold to this. I still think at some points he puts on a military uniform because it's just cosplaying with his administration, whether Kristi Noem's dressing up as one thing or another. But come out here and help us. We don't disagree with you that there's more that we can do, but what you're prescribing is nothing but vengeance and photo ops. That's not helping anybody. So here in Minnesota, we're going to continue to work on it. We want people to be secure in their persons, secure in their families, secure in their economics. He's doing nothing to help on any of those fronts. And that's one of the reasons I'm going to do this again. And there's a lot of people that are getting engaged. We've got a special election tonight, as you said. XP is going to win that race. This is an immigrant family that came from a refugee camp, came here and built a life, respected in his community, and he is going to step into that position that Melissa Hortman held. And you know what? Years down the line, we're going to be talking about XP doing good work for his community because it's what the voters want.